Yizzo!
Girl, hey.
Hello there.
How's everything?
Crack-a-lackin'. You know, everything is everything. We're recording early, so I'm a little bit anxious because I have a gap in between meetings and I'm trying to look at all the incoming messages as well. So if I seem distracted, that is why I'm working too.
Well, it is close to my birthday, coming up on my birthday. Not having anything quite planned for that, but gonna see you guys and feeling excited for that. In the thick of, again, the holiday season, went and vended last weekend at the Layout in Brooklyn. Saw some familiar faces there, saw you, which was very nice. And I just wanted to also extend to the Around the Way Curls community a little offering. You guys have until probably December. You have until when this comes out, probably the 16th, 17th, to order online. But if you want to shop online with the Sable Collective, you can use ATWC as a code for 20% off of your order. So go check us out at thesablecollective.com. You can and get a little discount and order all the things then. But just riding the wave, keeping it together, my very best. And yeah, that's just head down right now. That's all that's going on over here, y'all. How are you?
I'm good. Gearing up for the holidays as well. I'm disappointed that they were not able to even this year make plans for your birthday. I'm like, what the hell? Every year you're like, no, I can't. I have to be somewhere. I can't. And we never celebrate your birthday. It's always like, we'll go to dinner or we'll get like drinks or something, but it's not like all right, this is what we're doing. Last year we came together and got the little pot, but it's still not like a celebration, you know? We'll try to
People are
do it this
always
year.
busy. It's always busy. And
No, we're
I
all
don't
here.
know.
Even Amanda is here. We're all trying
We're
to
getting
figure it out.
together, but should I be the one that does that? I don't know
No,
if I,
we've
or
been
like,
asking you what your availability is, like what you would want to do so we can plan it. But
yeah, I
you
don't
have been
know.
very wishy-washy with like what you're able to do and like your schedule because of like vending and everything
It's just
else.
hard. It's a hard time of the year. I don't know what to.
Sucks. So we'll do our best. We'll have fun. We always have like an impromptu.
What did we do last year? Last year wasn't the,
Nothing.
but
We just
last
gave
year
you the
was the
pot.
dance. What we didn't go dance. The year before was the dance when we went to that whack
That
dance
was not
place.
whack. We had fun.
That I did not like the DJ. That DJ
No,
upset
but
me.
you do I need to post videos of you having all the fun you had? You
The
had a lot
DJ.
of fun, Shanti.
But that was the year before. That wasn't last year, right? I can't. That's
When was
confusing to me.
the only way I could know was by I don't want to say it. I would be like, when was the breakup?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Did we break up last year? This year?
I love
It's been a
you.
year. It's been a year. So it was the year before.
So maybe
It was the year before.
it was the year before. I
It
would have
wasn't
to go
last
in by
year.
this is dumb, but I would have to go in
Sorry.
by the
I've been
fact that you're
thinking
like, when
about
did we
this.
break up? No, that was a birthday that was fun, and it was fun because we made it fun. And you lost your ever loving mind. I need to find. Do I have your permission to just post one of those videos on your birthday on a reel,
Sure.
or not a reel on the thing?
Sure.
Oh, what a time that was! I'll never forget it. I will never forget you doing like the hee haw thing. I don't know why you were doing that because the music didn't call for it, but I think you didn't even drink that much.
I
I feel
drank a
like,
lot.
oh, for real?
I drank enough to hee
Mm.
haw to house music.
You was hee hawing to house music. You were, what was Beyonce's album?
Renaissancing? Oh, Cowboy
No,
Cartering.
you were Cowboy Carter before we even knew Cowboy Carter was coming. Shit. What? All right, y'all. Wait. When was this come out? Yeah, wait for her birthday. Oh God, let me get that post together. In the meantime, in between time, I am inheriting a bunch of clothes from my man.
Oh,
First of
what does
all,
that? Why would you want to do that?
because I want to make fun of him so bad from two things. And myself, honestly, because I feel like a big back. Because like he's giving me clothes and they either don't fit or they fit. And I'm like, what the fuck does this mean about us? Like, are we okay? But he has all of these, like I have an Alex Isley
Oh, nice.
tour merch. Like he has all of the, he was like a
He has nice
tour
t-shirts.
graphic tee guy for a little
Aw.
while, apparently. I have a bunch that I don't want that are large as Shanti, but I was like, I feel like Shanti would tie this up and fuck these up.
Yeah, let me see him,
Okay,
please.
good. So I'll bring them. But he was buying large, and I was like, huh? But then he showed me pictures, and I was like, oh, like if people don't know who he is, but he has like a build to him. Like he has worked out, he's built up his back, his shoulders, his arms. Like he is not a small human. Like he's a very built up human. And what's funny to me about this is that when we first got together, I was like, "What are your goals like with your workouts?" And he was like, "No, I'm shredding." And I was like, "No, you're not." Because he was lifting 60, 65-pound weights, just like on he's got a bench in here, just getting it. And I'm like, you're building, you're not shredding. And he's like, no, I could see the definition. I could see, And every time we would go out, friends who hadn't seen him in a while were like, "Oh shit, bro. Like, yo, what's up? Oh, you lifting, you okay. Okay." It wasn't registering to him. And I kept being like, baby, you are getting like it's fine, but I just need you to know that you keep telling me what your goal is, but you are bulking up in a way where like you are Hulk. Like you've not playing in these streets. Whereas like we were at Jasmine's party and somebody asked me if he did
If it was
security.
security, I wanted to say, I was just gonna say that. He's like, what?
He's like, "You security? Everything cool in here?" I was like, oh my God. So anyway, with that said, now he's realizing because he's seeing pictures of himself now. He's like, oh my God, like, when did I get this big? And he's putting on his winter clothes and they're not fitting. He's like, I don't understand why they're not fitting. Like, I've been working out on this, on that. And I'm like, it's not, it's muscle. Like, you have built up a significant amount of muscle. So he's like,
Giving you all his clothes.
So he's like, I don't think I'm ever going to get down to where this was. And so he started putting these piles of stuff to the side. And I said, excuse me, hello? Like, let me see that. So I was getting excited every time something didn't fit, like fly shit, like Fife t-shirts, like all kinds of stuff. And I felt so bad because his heart was dropping because he's somebody that when he buys something, he's like really connected to it. He really wants it. It's not like a frivolous purchase. And so I see him watching me in my excitement, but slowly dying. And it's so sad.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to maneuver, but I can't hide the fact that I am loving on my new shirt.
It's going to somebody that he's still connected to, you know, so he's still connected to the
he don't care. He still want to wear his shit. He like,
I
girl,
can't wait to see what you got.
Little Ralph Lauren sweatpants. This like cream. That he didn't even show me. I just found it in the pile and took it out the pile. I said, oh nah, these drawers fit. Pass them over here. Stop playing. But I also feel a way about myself as to like the fact that you fit your man's clothes. Okay. So I've worked out twice or 3 times this week. Monday, Tuesday. Oh no, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We take an off day today. And we back on it. 5 days a week. At least walking on that treadmill uphill, 6 incline, holding on to nothing.
Do it.
Because that's how you gonna shred. So we're on our Dean. Like we dapped each other up. We work out. He goes in the one room. I go in this room. We watch our shows afterwards. We give each other high five. We close our rings.
Yay!
So in the meantime, in between time, I was like, I'm gonna hold these for you, and then I give them back. If they fit you,
Yes,
I'll give them back, baby.
that is
But
very
I
nice.
just feel like I also don't even want to see him at the size where he fits this because I'm like, I ain't beat you like that.
Yeah, he be
So
very
like,
little, very little.
he showed me these. I couldn't believe it. I said, that's
How long ago was that?
like 2 years ago.
Two years is
He also
significant.
has a lot of clothes that he hasn't gone through. So he buys stuff that he likes, and then they go somewhere, and then he don't
Hmm.
necessarily find them. But anyway, with that said, I'm also at an age I'm realizing. I'm not even mourning it. I am accepting it fully that I'm at an age where staying up late will ruin me for like 2 weeks.
Well, what's late to you? Because
No. I stayed up. Okay.
you different.
I came over here, I think it was Friday, all dressed in something, ready for him, trying to be, sexy. And then we had made plans to watch Lioness. So I was going to start it. So I was sitting on the couch in this very risque outfit, watching this really intense show. And we were both like, I wanna do what we had planned, but this show good as shit.
That's
But
also an
anyway,
age thing.
right. So we came back to it the next day. When I tell you, we stayed up till we had watched 2 episodes on Friday. They were so good that the next day we finished the season the next evening. Stayed up till about 4:30
Oh,
in the morning because we
that's
started at
ridiculous.
like 9, and we just didn't stop. I was like, "You got one more in you? I got one more." By the time we were really tired, we had one episode left, and I'm like, I want to know what happens. And so we stayed up. And so all this week, I have been struggle bus. My sleep schedule is so off. I
It
went to
fucks
sleep
you
last night
up.
at
I know. I don't know
2:30.
how you've been working out. I can't even work out if I don't get my rest.
Well, I have a pre-workout now. It zoops you up. It's like Coke. You drink it, and the pre-workout just is like, and you're like
Oh,
awake. But part of the problem was we talked last night. I went to hot yoga. I drank that pre-workout at like 6:30. I was zooped. So I know not to do that until 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'll crash today and figure out how to regulate myself again. But right now, I'm struggling. With that said, I have zero regrets. Lioness is so good, y'all. We have Paramount Plus now. Shout out to the Around the Way Curls community. It's research. Shanti has committed to watching at least the first episode, right?
mm-hmm.
And I want you to keep going. It is so good.
I'm
Everybody is
excited.
telling me that
Yeah.
the second season is more intense than the first.
Wait, you haven't started the second season yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting for Bay. This is one of the shows that I'm not allowed to watch without him. Ugh,
I
I
thought you
hate it.
watched all of the shows
No, we
together.
watched one season. It's a
Okay.
first season and a second
Oh, and
season. We
is the
watched.
second season still rolling right now? It's not all out.
It's
It
still
comes out.
rolling. I
Okay.
called my
Okay.
sister all hyped, like, have you seen this show? And she was like, we're all caught up. We're waiting for the next episode. I hate this. Why don't they just release all, like that kind of thing, because we're so used to just having it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We will see. It is wonderful. Now, our dearest Nina Simone, aka Zoe Saldana, is doing an excellent job.
Good. Good.
So she
Shout
might be
out to
back
her
in our good
longevity,
graces.
though. Shout out to her. That girl's working.
She ain't
She's
no
in,
joke.
She's in some other film too. That I saw that looked pretty good as well. I can't remember the name, but it was like I think it's like a transgender actress.
Oh, okay. I thought she was playing a trans. I was like, here she go. Here she go. Taking roles that she ain't got
another
business
Latina,
taking, child.
another Latina woman that she's working with. But
she doesn't miss often. She's a great actress. I thought if you look at the behind the scenes of Avatar, I thought that they kind of screwed her over a bit because they they wouldn't allow those folks to be nominated for any awards for their performance based off the fact that there was so much CGI. But
Mm-hmm.
all of those expressions, all of that, the feeling behind those
Oh,
characters
yeah,
were the
yeah,
characters.
yeah.
Not that that was her best film. I'm just saying, like, that in particular was something where
She stood out.
that must have been incredibly hard to be that locked in with all that gear on. You know, like when I look
Yeah,
at that and I think about that as an actor, like it must have been really hard to put herself in that world when she's just standing there
yeah.
with all these dots on her head and everybody else around her looks like that. Like to
What a
imagine
wild
what the world
undertaking that
is.
was. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And she's been in the top grossing Hollywood films. We don't talk about that. Like
That's what I'm saying. She
she's
out here. She's doing
yeah,
it.
the
Go
Avenger,
ahead.
all that stuff. Like she's been in all of that. Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
So shout
Go
out
ahead,
to her.
Zoe.
Nina Simone though, that was what a
What a L. What a
what an L. That was a shame. And it was an unnecessary, unforced error on her part. We didn't need it. Anyway, those are my updates. Watch Lioness, y'all. Somebody
I'm
called too and told us to watch Lioness. And I just saw it, but I was already on it. So we got Shanti on it now. Voicemails. We have 2 voicemails. I'm gonna play them now. Can you write the time?
yeah.
Okay, so boom. Hi. I don't know what I'll be saying my name is when I call y'all. Dovey? Sure. From Indiana. I want something drinking. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. But I'm listening to your podcast. God bless y'all. And I don't know why I didn't know already that SNL was going to say Lovecraft Country. But while Shanti was giving hers, I was like immediately right down, oh my God, Lovecraft Country. I listened mostly to what SNL said about how it would be, but I had already wrote my idea and I didn't want to listen no more in the event that our ideas overlap. But this is what should happen. So boom, that shit happened in what, like 1964? Letty was pregnant and like maybe 20 years old. So like, who is Letty in 1984 when the baby is 20? You know what I'm saying? Like they continued George's like the Green Book. They continued that around the country, and maybe it landed them someplace else. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of research on the Great Migration, actually, because I'm writing a book right now. A horror fiction novel, yeah. But that's what I think. And then the way you bring Jonathan Majors back, because I still love him, girl. I'm sorry, I don't know. But the way you bring him back is maybe he comes in premonitions. Like, remember how when they went to Tulsa and he was in the room with his mama? Like, maybe on some astral projection type shit. They definitely need to focus it more. Like, it was all over the place, but I knew Misha was doing that because she just didn't know if they was going to fuck with it for a second season, and she wanted to get that message out, and I get it. But the second season should be more focused on where they are, the Black people experience in that part of the country in that time period, and you're able to tell the story of Black folk in that time and also make it spooky and spiritual. And then at the end, Jonathan Majors comes back and speaks to him in this astral projection plane that he was in with his mama in the first season, and they come together for whatever the moment is. I don't know. And maybe he meet George. I don't know. You know, but we bring the girls back, and then that gives Jonathan Majors in real life an opportunity to redeem himself. I'm just continuing to pray for his redemption, y'all. I need the harder they fall too. I need it. This is not fair. Anyway, I love y'all. God bless y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. Have a good one.
I'm not mad at that.
Nor am I. Nor am I mad, most importantly, at the redemption of Jonathan Majors. I too.
You ready?
What is that? You don't
I
hear
know,
that?
I heard that, yeah.
God damn. So some of my neighbors going to bust
mad
through the top of the ceiling to my bedroom. Not mad at it. And
Jonathan.
Megan can maybe reform.
You saw that, I forget her name. His ex dropped some of the other charges. Tricky with these charges. We'll get into it next week on Around the Way Curls. All right, last voicemail.
Hi, ladies, Antoinette and Shanti. This is Ladina. I wanted to respond to the young lady from Canada who was having a hard time. I just wanted to tell her that, one, no, she's not alone. We have all, I'm 46 years old, so I have been where she is. It's greater later. I want to offer that. That's actually a quote from Bev. I can't remember her last name. I think it's Bev Smith. Anyway, I just wanted to say that this, when you're feeling like she is, that is a signal to move in a different direction. Only she knows what that direction is, but it's a cue to stop, get still, and move in the direction that will make her happy. But she has to dig deep to figure out what that is. It's not easy at all. However, she will get through this time with a lot of stillness and introspection and a lot of boundaries and a lot of doing what feels good to her. And by good, I don't mean like self-care, like getting your nails and hair done. I mean true, like therapy, walking, exercise, eating right, and really taking care of yourself and not putting everyone else's needs first, but to truly put her own needs and wants and mental health first. So I hope she hears this and knows that, it does get greater later. Okay. Have a wonderful holiday season.
She's talking to all of us, by the way. Sister, you just preached to a lot of people. That was beautiful and super helpful, and I hope the listener was able to hear that and receive that.
Yeah. Take a break.
Yep. After these messages, we'll be right back. Boop. And we are back. This episode, we kind of touched on this in the past, and I think in my own experience, it's becoming more and more relevant to me. And I thought, we can start talking about this and, unpacking some of these, this very, very real reality. And it's about the inevitable aging of our parents and how, as young adults, we care for them and help them prepare, and most importantly, help ourselves prepare, and how that can bring us both peace and empowerment. Before we go into our parents, how, Antoinette, are your grandparents taken care of? What have you seen in this aging process throughout the generations of both sides of your families, how the elders are cared for or not?
I only had grandmothers. Both my grandfathers had passed when I was born, but my
when you were born, you never had a relationship with the grandfathers.
No,
I
never had a grandfather relationship. So my my maternal grandmother was very cared for in certain ways. She didn't have a lot. I think that she didn't have a lot on paper, but she was surrounded with love. Her kids, I think, did everything they could to ensure that she had her basic needs met. Traditions were alive and well. And my godmother really took the helms, took the reign, I think, not the helm, took the reign and made sure that her finances, her end of life, everything was set up and put
Your godmother
in
being your
place.
aunt, her daughter.
Her daughter.
Where did she stay?
My grandmother was in a home. It was a trailer home, but it was an immobile home. So there were no wheels on it, and it was in an area where it's interesting because had she been in a house, I don't know that she could have cared for a house. You know, like, so you say that out loud. It's like, oh my God, that's terrible. And I know that it was always a pain point for my mother since my grandmother had 9 kids, I think 2 of which were very well off enough where she probably didn't need to stay there. But my grandmother never made her grandkids aware that she wanted anything else, that she wanted for anything. My grandmother also made a lot of financial decisions that kind of backed her into a corner. But my grandmother had 9 children and her husband died very young. Like very young. I think he was like 50, 51. And she still had young ones.
Oh, wow. I didn't
around
know
that time. And she just had to keep going and figure it out. But she was the grandmother that every birthday, every holiday, when I say birthday, I mean anybody's birthday, there was a celebration of all of whether it was a grandchild, a daughter, a son, like she was surrounded. And sometimes she would be irritated, like, I wish they would leave me alone. So she wasn't lonely by any means. And yeah, my father's mom, my paternal mom, is now in a home, very unhappy, very angry about being in the home. It's the last place she ever wanted to be in life. Neither one of her kids are in a position to care for her physically, emotionally. There's a lot there. It's a pain point of mine. It's a lot of guilt associated with that. And I think there's a lot of guilt and hurt with my family as well. And so she's a hard person to visit. I'll say that. She's a hard person to visit.
Because of it tugs on your heart.
No, she's a very angry, mean person because she's a very hurt person who tells a lot of stories that a lot of people don't feel are true. And so there's some stuff there. It's hard because she actually really enjoys spending time with me. She's really nice to me, but she's really awful about people I love while I'm there. And so it's hard to sit there and listen to that. And she doesn't have all of her wits about her. So she repeats the same stories, the same really hard, mean stories over and over and over again. And she's very mean to the people that are there. It's hard to watch that. And if you try to help her or maybe say like, oh, I don't think it's okay, grandma. I'm like, I don't think that's what she meant. You know, you will feel her wrath next. So you kind of got to ignore it. And it's just hard. But long story short, that's where she's at. She lived by herself for a very long time. And then she just couldn't physically do it anymore. Her body gave out.
How old is she?
90.
Oh, wow.
Something. She's old.
And your mother's mother, how old was she when she passed?
Not that old. I don't know that she hit 80. I think that she might have been late 70s, mid 70s. I don't remember an 80th birthday for my grandmom. That would have been a huge deal. So
I similar to you, I did have one grandfather growing up on my mother's side, and so I had a relationship, but he passed when I was maybe like 10 or 11. Both my grandfathers passed from cancer.
Mm.
And so my grandmothers were left, and they were both maybe like a year and a half difference in age. So they were both around the same age, and to see how both of their lives ended, both my grandmothers passed, is just fascinating. My mother's mother, super independent. I don't think she knew how to be taken care of. And so the story about that was that she didn't want to be a burden on her daughters. But I think the real story is that she was terrified of that certain type of intimacy and kind of moved herself away physically from her daughters as she aged in the name of not being a burden and saving money. I think that she and my grandfather were both very, very conscious of assets, and as they were aging, being as conscious as they can about, preserving as much as they could. And so my grandmother, rather than staying in a home and paying for that, however much that would cost, she moved to Guatemala. I think that also was very much a part of her spirit. She moved to Guatemala and lived in like a expat community there, which was far cheaper than whatever facility she would have been in the US. And my grandmother was about 82 and her hearing was going. She had a heart condition and she fell. And I went to go visit her in Guatemala on this last, and I was there when she actually fell. And after she fell, she was so dependent on others and it depressed her.
Mm-hmm.
And at 82, although she did not have any significant health issues, she decided that she didn't want to be here anymore. And so she told my aunt and my mom, you guys can come down and you can aid me through this process, but I'm going to stop eating because I don't want to be here. And so my mom and her sisters went down there and watched her go through that process. And my grandmother ended her life the way that she wanted to end her life. She was so terrified of aging and that dependency and the quote unquote burden. And I think there was also just deep emotional stuff that she just maybe didn't have the ability to untangle, and not the willingness to do that either. Whilst my other grandmother developed dementia, and I watched her deteriorate, and the burden.
That's the one I met, right? Your dad's mom.
The I don't know if burden is the word, but she was with I think around maybe like her 70s, she stopped living alone and she moved in with my aunt. And my aunt has many children. So to your point, just a lot of people around her caring for her. And then she went to my other aunt and it was just the two of them while my grandmother was deteriorating rapidly with her dementia. And this was during COVID. And my aunt fell ill to COVID, and I think that's when the veil was lifted, and my dad stepped in and saw how much work was required to take care of my grandmother, and how my aunt had been taking on that burden for years until she couldn't anymore. And so he and his wife were with my grandmother until she passed due to dementia, and caring for her. And that was probably like a year. But the stress, the fatigue, the constant attention that she needed because they didn't take her into a home, they kept her in the house, was just eye-opening and terrifying for me in a lot of ways, because I was just like, I don't know how my aunt did it that long. And I just watched my dad buckle under it. And I was like, yeah, but she has been dealing with this for like
Mm-hmm.
so many years. So in watching my grandparents, especially my grandmother that deteriorated with old age and dementia, it makes me look at my own parents and so much of the life that they built for themselves financially, emotionally, then becomes something that we have to reckon with, whether we want to believe that or not, whether we want to take responsibility for that or not. And my parents are in two very different, they're no longer together, and they're in very different places emotionally and financially. Each are on different spectrums and spectrums in a lot of ways. And I see them aging, and I see slowly but surely them needing my help. Although both of them are in excellent health, I see their emotional, for my mother, I see her emotional needs, or I see, and it kind of reflects even what you're saying with your grandmother, the growth that has stopped, the self, the way that it's kind of even frozen in time, and the stories are repeating, and like this future, I think her attachment or her desire for a future, or even imagining what that is like for her, is really hard for her. So much of the past is her reality, and it affects her emotionally. And so then you have these really difficult, almost immature people that are parent that I'm watching, and I have conversations with her, and the roles have reversed, not in a physical way yet, which I know eventually is going to come, which makes me like scared. But I see how the aging process is coming with her. And for my father, there is a my mom financially will be fine. My father doesn't have anything really, but I see in him kind of tapped out of the reality of what your future is going to be. You know what I mean? Like there's no set. In a way, I admire him because he's not fearful, and I don't see it emotionally affecting him. And I admire how frugally and how simply he lives. But when his self-sufficiency is gone, I don't think he even can imagine that for himself. And so there's this lack of out of touch with reality in a way that I think you probably have to be as you age, because then you're just thinking about death all the time, and then there's worry and anxiety, and there's like this different type of
I know. Okay.
energy. I mean, it's a balance and all, but yeah. How are you currently seeing your parents age? And
I think, how old are your parents?
my mother is 76 and my dad's 73.
Yeah, your parents are, because your parents had a whole life and children before. My parents are much younger than yours. So my mom, I don't see aging really. She still is working. She's in great physical health, mental health. She's never been great. God bless her. The ways of the world they've gotten to that woman. But they've had their things. My mom, I guess my mom is more feeble, I'll say. I see that in her, where she used to lift weights and stuff, and now like everything hurts. So no, I see them aging. I see my stepfather more so. My mom's husband, who has been in my life since I was in the 5th grade. I see him. He just turned 80 this year. And he had a lot of health issues the last couple of years. and he aged very rapidly. I see fear in him, but I don't see I'm not there all the time either, but I see a preparation in him, and I see a want to not be a burden, to not even have his funeral be a burden. He's paid for his entire funeral. He's planned it. Like, it's done. Everything's there. He's must every time I'm there walks me to show me where his will is, just to ensure. And I see him getting a lot softer. So that's something that I think about. But my parents, there was worry with my father. I'm seeing he was battling some health issues, and I see him getting better. So I'm not thinking about, I don't know. I don't know.
You're not thinking about it. It's not like
I do, but I do, because when I get a message, a voicemail from my dad, I hurry up and make sure I can save it and make sure that I'll never lose it. It's on the cloud. You know, when I get messages from my mom, I make sure that it's there, that I can take it and have it forever. You know, so it's on my mind. It's on my mind. I think my mother will make sure. My mom and I are very similar in preparedness, and that transfers over to anxiety. I think that she will ensure as much as she can that she is not a burden. Her death is not a burden. Not that she won't be. She like, you gotta come live with me, or somebody don't ever put me in a home. People need to take care of me. It's a sin to move away from your mother. That's her thing. But, you know, when the finality hits, she's like, I don't want you to have to think about anything. And she's more so worried about what she could possibly leave us, which is nothing. So it's like, it's okay, because she needs to live off of what she has. My dad is like he acts like he's okay with death, but he constantly reminds us he is at 60. How old is he? 60, 58, 66, that he's the oldest male in his family, on his family line. They all died early. And I try to tell him, like, this is still early. He's like, well, God willing, if I'm still here. It's very like, my hands are off of it. I'm not going to stress over it. And when I'm gone, put me in a box. Don't spend a whole lot of money, have a party. It's like, what? I think for me, the financial part, I don't think about as much. I think about, or even the idea of needing to care for them, because I just feel like that's assumed and I have to, and we'll figure it out. I worry about the emotional components. You know, I worry about that, and
what do you mean, of
sure I
them or
know
of
their
you?
wishes.
Oh.
For me, for them, you know, like, if they'll be okay with it, if I'll be okay, if I'll be able to help them transition, you know? Watching our friend do that, literally tell her parent it was okay to let go, is like, wrapping my head around that and making sure that they feel comforted, is what I think about.
Yeah, I think I am very scared of the labor part, to be honest. For both of my parents. I'm the only child between them. I don't have any, but I guess my father. My mom has more. I have siblings from my mother, but I feel like there's a time where you're kind of sandwiched, and I'm not there yet, but that reality, and I think probably a lot of people listening are experiencing that. Of course you figure it out, but even watching my dad, even when watching my dad, because if your parent lives long, right? So then you're kind of like an elder taking care of your parent in a way. And just watching the fatigue and the just how relentless it is, because I don't think I would want to have them be in a home either. You know, ideally I would I have a friend whose father was in a home and passed because of the neglect that of like bed sores. So just like that kind of regret and like would eat me alive. But I also am very terrified of how slow the process can be, how long how fast the process can be as well. But just the strain that it puts on you financially, emotionally, physically, that I think I really need to think about ahead of time. And because I have siblings, this is a discussion that I kind of have to have.
Oh,
We
you
all
haven't
need to
had it
have,
yet?
not with all of us. It's just they're like, I don't know who, it's also difficult for our particular family dynamics because we're bi-coastal. There's relationship estrangement. So there's some folks that are not going to be involved at all. And the considerations of wealth, to your point of with your family, it's like, oh, because this person has it, are they going to help? Are they going to participate? Like, how are we as a group? I think if there's more people involved, the chances of the parent being taken care of are higher, taken care of well, and the labor being equitable is higher chances of that. But I think you make an ass out of yourself when you assume. So I think that's the conversation that really needs to be had amongst the siblings to figure this out.
Yeah.
Because of course it becomes, even in our relationships now, there's some things my sister does that I don't do, and vice versa. There's some things my mom will come to me for that she won't go to my sister for immediately, and vice versa. That becomes this unspoken dynamic that everybody just thinks is going to happen. And I think that's the question of what is the reality and how do we approach these conversations of like, so
that's a good point. I mean, my sister and I have talked about it, but we haven't talked about it in great detail. I think there's a lot of, and I'll own this on my end, I get very emotional, not avoidant, but emotional in these conversations with the thought, the idea of something happening. So I think that maybe that's a deterrent, but yeah, we shouldn't not have the conversation just because our parents are a certain age and they're in good health. Like you have to have the conversation now, because when shit hits the fan, you need to have a readiness and a preparedness. We've listed all of the things that could possibly happen. But I think that it's hard too because neither one of us know where we'll be at.
Right.
Like, will I be in a position, to step up and take a parent in, or, like, how does that work? So a lot to consider. And they also have spouses. I think with my mother specifically, we've always assumed that, because her husband is 16 years older than her, that, she would be with us. My dad and his wife are much closer in age and care for each other. So I don't know.
I think the conversation should be had all together. Like even with the parent, to your point, like sitting down and mapping out as much as you can, while they're present mentally, while they have an understanding of their finances. If they don't have an understanding of their finances, I think that's also very important. Like where you are now, to sit down with your parent, which could be a really hard and scary conversation, but you don't want to be hit with their debts or blindsided by shit, which my father kind of experienced when his mother passed. And yeah, I just think these are things that I sat down with my dad and we did, his funeral and the power of attorney and his will and all of that stuff. But I haven't sat down and talked about like how, if you cannot physically care for yourself, what's the plan? And he has a wife that's probably 16 years younger than him. So there's that dynamic there. And I haven't had this conversation with my mom. My mom's very upfront about assets and her money and all that stuff, and showed us the will and all of that stuff.
Same
so
with my mom.
That helps us. But I feel like if you're a complete dark about where your parents are financially, I know, that's a conversation to have. And I also just want to make space for all of the people that don't have good relationships with their parents, that have strained relationships from their parents, and they are going to age. And what do you do if there's this resentment, if there's this hurt, and then you have to care for them? How does one go about navigating it? And I don't know. I don't know. I trust that there's many listeners that have experienced it or are experiencing it now and can help folks do that. But you eventually, or you don't, have to care for your parent. They become like the roles are reversed inevitably. It's not a question. How you take on that responsibility is
I think it's a great point that you make. And a lot of times end of life conversations really revolve around a will, power of attorney, who's the executor of said will, and assets, and the funeral. And they don't talk about the care part of like up to that point.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful for you to point out, because that's a big gap in my dynamic with my parent, is that I haven't had those conversations of like, if X, Y, and Z were to happen, what would you want? What kind of care would you need? I haven't. I have heard fear from them about it, about dementia, about Alzheimer's, about those two particular for one of my parents, and how they would just, similar to your grandmother, want to go. I don't know if they're just saying that because it's just a flippant thing to say and they don't want to think about it, and that's an easy way to avoid it. But it's like having that conversation is very important,
My grandmother's was such a, I don't think when it happened, I guess I was young. I didn't take in the decision that she made, but as I'm sitting with it now, to stop eating,
it's a really painful way to die.
Is just a wild, that's very wild. And to have your daughters there and to have them witness that, but also it's just, you have to then reckon with the power dynamics as well. It's like,
what power
you're my
dynamic?
parent.
Oh.
I can't, how can I tell you how to continue your life if you don't want to if you want to do this a particular way, if you want to be in a home when I have the means and the availability to take care of you. There's just always this, it's just a heavy thing. And I think our culture we don't have the best examples of how to take care of elders. There isn't like a cultural, in so many other countries, it's like they're in the house and y'all figure it out. That's just a norm. And
I think it's interesting too, though. What if you can have all the means to do X, Y, and Z? I don't want it. I don't want to live that life. I don't want it. I'm telling you, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So is the culture to do what is good for you, or to do what I need in my end of life care, to honor my wishes? And
I know for certain my mother, if she were to get ill, which would probably frustrate the hell out of me and pain me in a way that I can't even describe, she wouldn't want certain care. She would just be like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, I think my dad would do the same thing. Both of them are just so anti everything that they'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
There's also I think about that, and I think about the courage. A lot of people might not think about it as being courageous, but to be able to say, like, be resolute and I'm good. I've lived. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight nature. And I wouldn't want to hear it as a child.
So I'm just going to share some tips just very quickly for those folks that haven't even begun to breach this conversation or think about it. I want to give a shout out to all of the only children. The weight of that is real, and to have to care for your parent and then lose them by yourself is it ain't natural. I hope that you have built community and that's not necessarily you don't feel so alone in it. But also shout out to all of you. So just getting all of the basic legal documents together, the financial understanding of, again, where your parents are, mapping out, understanding their insurance, lack thereof, what money is saved, possibly meeting with, I don't know who that would be, but possibly meeting with a long-time finance consultant around the costs.
A lawyer.
I don't know if they know the costs of care, like the costs of living. I don't know who would do that. I don't know. I think it would probably have to be a financial service that, they have some type of equation of what your people's cost is, net cost of living plus inflation plus, if they own their home. If they don't, you may have to fill in some of the missing numbers around, like if you're going to have them in a home, all of that. But, just beginning to look for those numbers. The legal documents, definitely, Antoinette's point, you go to a lawyer, see if your parent has a will, have them create a will, see if there's trusts, and understanding the difference between a will, power of attorney, and executor, because all of those have different responsibilities. A will is when somebody passes and what their desires are, who gets what, where, all of that kind of stuff of assets and how they want to pass, whereas a power of attorney kind of makes decisions while that person is alive, but perhaps unable to make their own decisions. So make sure that's all assigned to somebody. Also, again, thinking about those living arrangements, thinking about if you're married, like there's just so many things to discuss. If you're married, having your parents or parent come in your situation, in your family. So that's something a conversation you even have with a partner, understanding your partner's desires for their parents. If you're married, what are their plans with their parents?
Stepchildren, half sibling, all that
Don't
shit.
avoid this stuff because it can get really
It looks like too there's social workers that help with that.
Okay.
But it looks like there's different just senior services that provide social workers that are, or someone who like specializes in looking at a portfolio of somebody's assets and helping them determine what's best for their elder care.
My father doesn't have any of those things, so I was even online like who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 months, but there's so many social services, low income housing. There's so many specialized social services for elderly people in the state that you're in that you can navigate to make sure that they have all the resources that they need, and that you as well to help them navigate that. So that's something that I'm going to begin doing as well. And then lastly, the emotional preparation. And I don't think anybody can prepare for a parent to pass, but to your point, Antoinette, capturing or making time to be with your parent. And I think that feels like something that I take for granted. My dad calls me every week. My mom calls me every week. Sometimes I ignore the calls or I just don't have the time for it. And just really reminding myself of what the priorities are, and making time in my schedule to see them, to visit them, to be in habit of caring for them. And like, what do they need? Getting into that role, even though it may be hard and a strain on me, I think it's just inevitable. So even trying to figure out how to be in care of them in little ways is stuff that I really want to focus on and kind of change my engagement with them and prepare me in the process.
Yeah. I think one thing that I just thought of, and thank you for this, is that if our parents say something to us in these conversations that we don't like, I remember my mom, this is what happened, and this is when it kind of shifted. My mom talked about cremation, and I lost it. I was like, I don't want you to do that. And I don't even feel that way anymore. But at the time, that was too much for me. The thought of being in a room and this hero of a woman coming back out to me in this. And I was like, no, like, you're gone and funerals are for the fucking family at that point. Like, you're fucking gone. I can't handle that. And it was super selfish and emotional and, kind of immature. So I say that to say, like, if your parents, when your parents or your guardian or whoever tells you what their wishes are, take a beat. And I think before you even hear them, think about what your wishes are and try to help that humanize what they want. Like, you have to have some empathy for them. Like, what would I want and how would I want people to honor it, even if it's not what they're aligned with? Even if it's not how they see it, how they would want me to go out, like, and then give them that same grace and honor. I knew there was something that made my mom go, I ain't talking to you about this no more. Because I just buckled over and couldn't take it. And everybody was like, whoa. And then afterwards, she stopped talking to me about it. And she was like, I think your sister's going to be the executor for me because you just get a little emotional. And and I was shocked by that. But whatever. So yeah, that's just a word of advice, is think about the way how you would want to be honored and how you would want people to listen to what you're saying, and take a big deep breath and try to remember that it actually isn't about you.
Mm-hmm. I think a question to ask them, and I'm interested in both of their answers, is what legacy means for both of my parents. What do they want to
You
be
trying to
remembered as?
depress people and
No,
stress them out?
I think it's important. I think it's something for them to think about. I think it's something. How do they want to be remembered? What do they want to be remembered by? My father has 5 books of handwritten poetry. My father is an incredible writer. And I haven't even started. I can't crack those books open. I don't know if I will be able when he passes, but to be able to transcribe them for me was probably the most important thing. And I could pass it on to Jolie and it can live.
Travel.
But even those kind of things, like what artwork or photos or just these things of like, my mom is an incredible photographer, all of these things that I just take for granted now. But
I really fast on that. I think that's something we should be asking ourselves now, what we want our legacy to be.
I gotta live a little bit more. I got more life to live.
You don't know that. So every day is an opportunity to ask yourself, if today was the last day, what am I leaving? What am I proud of? What remains? And live your life in that way. Because I know for a fact that there are some people in my life that I would ask, what do you want your legacy to be? And it would cripple them because they don't have art. They don't have poetry. They don't have photography.
Mm-hmm.
They've only just done what they were told and been good, but they weren't in it. Mm-hmm. And so that's a call out to me, what you just said, eye-opening for me. And I think probably eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But shout out to your parents for having some fullness.
At the expense of a lot, but yes, amen. Shout out to them.
It's always
Barbara and Karuna. Shout out to y'all.
Always gotta give, right? You can't do it all. You could pay for your funeral and have everything planned and not have a legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's give and take there.
I really, 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 really would love to listen to listeners' experiences, those that are in the weeds of this in this moment. I don't know. Do people know that aren't in the restaurant business? The people that are in it right now that want to just have a release just to share your experience. I know it's difficult. I know it's probably incredibly lonely, and the amount of pressure and responsibility and fear, knowing that what the end result is probably great. So I just want to show some love to you and speak directly to your heart. And if it's on your spirit, to call and just share your experience. If your parents have already transitioned and you've been through everything, we all need some direction as well and just some insight. So shout out
holding space really fast for people with very
hard relationships. Oh God,
parents.
That's a death in itself.
We're honoring them. Yes. Tricky.
It's hard. It's impossible. Space for y'all as well. That is very real.
Yeah.
My parents probably have children that is their reality. So anyhow, keeping it positive all around the way across. We all gonna die. So sorry. All right.
That's the given. That is the only fucking thing we can count on right now. Is eventually we will. So what are our legacies? We think we got a whole life left until you don't. Live.
All right. Bye.
Bye. How do I?